The latest debris from the mountain of evidence further implicating Joe Biden in multiple massive corruption schemes. A brief recap of what happened while I was away. That's the focus of today's preamble. The House Ways and Means Committee has released new transcripts from a WhatsApp text reportedly sent by Hunter Biden that is blowing the lid off Joe Biden's involvement in his son's nefarious overseas dealings. According to the released report on this matter, Hunter Biden told Henry Zhao, one of his Chinese paymasters at the time, that the Bidens were displeased with the Communist Party apparatchik's pace of fulfilling their side of some sort of deal. A real journalist, Newsmax chief White House correspondent James Rosen was the first to try and get an answer from the regime by first reading the message in question and then asking Biden's flunkies to explain it. With ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN hanging around, you may have forgotten what real journalism looks like or sounds like. Listen to the logical question and how the regime chose to respond.
House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, a Chinese Communist Party official, which stated in its entirety, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father," unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
We're good.
James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
I'm not going to do
Where
it.
was the precedent on it?
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You see, if inconvenient facts come out, if troubling allegations surface, or if the current occupant of the Oval Office is implicated in a massive influence peddling scheme where he is accused of taking foreign cash to deliver changes in American foreign policy, if one is a Democrat, one gets the luxury of simply not talking about it. Instead, the biased press has devoted their time to focusing on rather weak tea from politically motivated attacks against the leading challenger to Joe Biden, President Trump. The press has tried to put lipstick on pig indictments, alleging President Trump was guilty of taking intelligence he had every right to have under our laws, and also turning a state misdemeanor into a federal felony on a violation that had its statute of limitations expire. The vast majority of the press is consumed with protecting Democrats and their ability to harm you, rather than working to inform you. Case in point, how many of you out there knew America is potentially facing another China spy balloon? The so-called news networks aren't very eager to tell you about it. Congressman Matt Rosendale says the folks in Montana looked up and saw another balloon. He tweeted, quote, "Last night, several people in Dawson County were tracking a balloon flying across eastern Montana at 57,000 feet. I contacted DOD and was informed that they are aware, but due to the size of the balloon and the low probability that it's conducting surveillance, they will not be investigating." If the spy balloon in February taught us anything, it's that Montanans are vigilant and want to know what is flying over our state and will expose the Biden administration for not protecting us, end quote. Well, Joe Biden's open borders, evidence enough that the Biden regime has no interest in protecting American citizens or our lives. But if this is another spy balloon from the filthy communists, why isn't the Biden regime being asked about it? Why is another balloon allowed into our airspace? Why does Joe Biden and his political party think their communist friends have the right to breach our airspace and harass and spy on our people? It's a question, or a series of questions, I'd like to have answered. But apparently this network and scant few others are the only ones interested in getting those answers. What about you? You want those answers? Joining me now to discuss, former senior advisor in the Trump and Bush administrations and senior fellow at the Center for the National Interest, Christian Whiten. Christian, great to see you, man. According to Congressman Rosendale, the Department of Defense, they are aware, sir, of another potential spy balloon, but they're refusing to investigate, do anything about it because they claim there's a low probability that it's conducting surveillance. Question, why are other nations able to breach our airspace at all? Shouldn't every American be concerned about the Democrats' refusal to protect our national sovereignty?
Absolutely, and this the flippant manner in which this is dismissed is just greatly concerning. I mean, if this was just some university that launched a weather balloon to do some, I don't know, climate research, then that would be one thing, but we should have the answer to that. We have a military that costs us more than $870 billion a year. Surely it's able to track and figure out where these things came from. If it comes from a foreign country, then that's a serious matter. And against the backdrop that this is occurring of a Biden administration that is trying to downplay any misconduct from China. You know, Biden accidentally said that Xi Jinping was a dictator. That's the absolute truth. And then they sort of back away from that when the Chinese are upset. So it's just a lot that doesn't add up here. If it isn't the Chinese balloon, then what is it? And if it is, what are we going to do about it?
Now, true. Now, on Thursday, the House Ways and Means Committee released a very damning text message allegedly sent by Hunter Biden, where he threatens a China Communist Party apparatchik for not fulfilling some sort of deal that they made. The press refuses to cover these allegations against Joe Biden, but this behavior has been well chronicled for decades by Democrats. He didn't get the name Quid Pro Joe for nothing. Shouldn't Republicans be, I don't know, a little more serious in how they're approaching this and trying to get some more definitive answers from the Biden regime?
It really does. If you look at the recent allegations, and these come from whistleblowers of the IRS. So it's one thing when something comes from a congressional Republicans, people can say, okay, well, that's just partisan games, even if it looks pretty fishy in this case, as James Rosen illustrated in his report. But the whistleblowers who have testified about the soft glove treatment that the IRS gave to Hunter, I mean, these are presumably people that voted for Joe Biden. I don't know too many Republicans who pine to spend a career at the IRS. Maybe there are some, but the fact that he got a pass on things that would get you and me indicted on felonies, and for multiple years, going back to 2014, and part of this was the Justice Department dragging its feet. You know, the IRS needs the approval of the DOJ to actually prosecute someone, and in that time that they took to consider these charges, the statute of limitations expired, although there are several more recent crimes, alleged crimes, which would have been prosecuted as felonies for any normal American that the IRS said, prosecute this as a felony, and the Justice Department, as you know, struck a sweetheart deal instead.
Well, I told you that, and told the audience that, you know, there's one bit of evidence there about the China spy balloon being a breach of our sovereignty, and apparently they've been doing an awful lot. And, you know, Joe Biden continues to allow them to do it. Another, probably arguably bigger breach of our national security is the southern border. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida was on the border today, highlighting another area where Democrats have abandoned our national security. And as you know, President Trump, he was able to slow illegal activity at the border to a trickle. Isn't the fact that our government can't tell us how many foreign military, narco-terrorists, or radicalized terrorists have gained entry on that border, isn't that the definition of a national security threat?
It seemed to be the most obvious one, too. I mean, what's going on in Ukraine is concerning, and we have a very serious nation-state threat from China. The Iranians continue to target Americans around the world with terrorism. But this is so close and so obvious, and the fact that we don't know who's coming across, and there seems to be this migration, or at least a enhancement of what's coming across, is not just poor, mostly Central Americans who've gone through Mexico, but also a number of people, more than 100, who are on the terrorist watch list, and people of various different nationalities. It really is a free-for-all down there. It's good that DeSantis is down there. Incidentally, RFK Jr. on the Democrat side is also trying to put it on the agenda there. So, of course, the mainstream media doesn't want to focus on this. The Democrats, despite the data from the last couple of elections that shows Hispanics shifting towards Republicans, I still think that this is their ticket to having a permanent majority in this country. But, DeSantis in Florida, he passed a few laws saying, no, we're not going to give driver's licenses and ID cards to illegals. No, we're not going to recognize ID cards issued by other states for illegals. We're going to require e-verify of citizenship if your business is above a certain size.
Yeah.
So it's good that, but you know, it looks like we're going to have to hang on for a couple more years because this Congress and this administration seem unable to stem the tide.
Yeah, exactly. Over 1.5 million illegal alien known gotaways. We have no idea who they are. We have no idea if they're foreign military, they're narco-terrorists, or how much damage and what their mission is here in the United States. And that should be troubling to every American. And it shows you the, well, in my view, the complicity of the Democrat Party in putting us all at great risk. Christian Whiten, thank you, man. Appreciate the visit as always.